And like I said, I wanted to draw from what Ken said. So the reason I sent those things to Crystal Carrison is the reason is because I saw what she did post the clip. I call it the clip, like the Thanos snap, the clip, because it was the clip that has us where we are now, and the immediate reactions to the clip instead of an insightful reflection into the show. That's where we are. That's the fact. And so, in response to the clip, we have to remember for some of the YouTube content creators, this is a competition, but it's all in good faith because may the best content creator win. Content creators are vying for willing subscribers, willing viewers who are willing to spend their time to come to a given content creator's channel. And if they really like the content a lot more, they're obliged to, contribute financially for what they like.
And you know what?
Ellen cares and that you are going to build on Kevin Samuel's model.
Yes, I did. I did. And I'll explain that.
Like you are basically going to turn yourself into Kevin Samuels 2.0.
No, I'm not going to be in a suit. So I'll explain that. Yeah,
let me say this before Seventh goes in. So there's two type of people on this thing, Uppity, and Seventh is going to explain his thing. There are givers to the community, and there's takers. There's takers posing as givers. Let me say it again. There are takers who are saying all people with curly hair are evil, and they're making money off that. Once they put themselves in the taker entertainment category, then they're up to be like more bounce to the house. Everybody can sample it. Heavy D, EPMD, it don't matter because you're putting yourself in the taker category. You're not giving to the community. You're taking because you're attacking people to get money. Now, if you're a giver to the community, that's totally different. That means you're coming with things where you don't have to talk about curly haired people to prove your point. Your point stands upon itself. But that's not what's happening. Is people posing as givers and they're going out attacking people with green skin, making them the boogeyman just so they can have rent money. And if you do that, then anybody can give you 3.0, 4.0, Heavy D, EPMD Part 5, because you're not doing something with sincerity. But go ahead, Seventh. I just want to shoot that in before you go on your thing.
No, that's fine. So, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That helps me to kind of explain. So, no, I'm not going to be in a suit. I'm not going to be Kevin Samuels 2.0 or Tommy Sotomayor 3.0. No, but I saw that the response in many areas was from my viewpoint, I kind of viewed it an attack on Black men to a degree. And so to Mr. Researcher's point, see, we have to remember, Kevin Samuels never said he was here for the community. I don't have that expectation for him to be here for the community. Kevin Samuels had a platform and a show, and he transformed his content into something that would attract oohs, ahs, and eyes and dollar signs, flat out. So even if he's a charlatan or a fraud, this is show business. Now, we know that the women call they're on the show. That is true. Some women call they're on the show just to take up some of his time and, to get their 15 minutes of fame. That's nothing wrong with that. He sets it up that way. He lets it roll. He controls the flow, but that's how it goes. And in my opinion, sometimes they get the best of them, but it still draws views. It still draws views. And so with that female, listen, she makes six figures. She does well. Now, I'll be honest. To me, no, she wasn't. She wasn't the cutest thing on earth. I'm just gonna be honest. And there's gonna be some women who might see me and don't think I'm handsome. Some women think, oh, you're very handsome, 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 handsome. I'm just like, no, I just keep myself clean. That's it. I don't think too much of myself to be like that. I'm not in a movie. So everybody's different. But Kevin Samuels never put on a Doctor Strange cloak of levitation saying that I'm here to bring the community together. Now, he did say he's to help men. And, if he feels that he's helping men, hey, to the men that get something from it, good. I said that I would be the second, I would build off of what he's done because my work is very clear. A lot of women, as Ken said, are thinking that, well, it's okay for me to go out here and choose what I know is not a good choice in terms of the man that I deal with. And when it blows up, I get to point the finger at everyone else. And when a man who isn't like that, when a man who doesn't meet that qualification, who's above that, comes and says, no, I don't represent the Pookie or the Ray Ray or the womanizer who comes in the cloth of a fox, but is really a wolf. I don't represent that. He comes in the appearance of the knight on the horse, but he's really, the archdemon. I don't represent that. And you got yourself in a situation that now it's not in your best interest. You had a choice. If you had kids or had sex with that guy, but you didn't demand anything from him up front, and you just believed him on the merits that he was a handsome brother, handsome dude from the hood or whatever. And because of that, you lowered your guard and it ended up working against you. Yeah, that guy's wrong, but whether it be a man or a woman who comes to tell you the truth about that situation, we're not the bad guy. You can't blame the person who's looking at it for what it is at par value. And what I see is a lot of women, because there's women in this thing too, and it's like he said, they're taking advantage by selling this sisterhood narrative that all of us women have to stand strong because the big bad men, they're competing with us, they're taking from us. And you know what? I had in college, I had the luxury of having for my psychology professor, the psychologist who was he worked for the great coach of the Green Bay Packers, which was Vince Lombardi. That was my professor. He was brilliant. He looked like Dr. Wiley. But anyway, I learned a lot from him. And I sit back and I look and I watch comments. I read it. I really do. I read everything because I'm technical. And I get into the psyche and I ask myself questions. And I say, why don't I ever see some women question sometimes the motivation, so that if the motivation is pure, then the person preaching that motivation, the person communicating that motivation to the rest of the women or men can be honest about it and we can all examine it. And if it has holes, we could say, don't think I'm gonna ride with that. Good luck with that. Or you know what? I'm all on board, or that's just not my thing. No one ever questions the motive. And it goes the same for men. But the difference is with men, see, we're willing to engage in the battle. If I don't agree with something like that Ken said, and I question him, men will go back and forth, and we'll go through it. We'll say, and we'll do that in front of everyone. But it's how men are kind of built. And so when I say that, I don't think Chrislyn was being very genuine when she, in my opinion, and from my view, and I've looked at it before I decided to launch those bombs. And I did. I did launch those bombs. I thought about it. I really did. I didn't do it at impulse. So I'm sorry if it made you cry, but it was not impulsive. It was on purpose. After I considered it, deliberated it, and I executed it, and I meant it, and I don't take it back. She, I feel, is using the greatest weapon that you could ever use against a woman to get her to do something that you want her to do, which is a
Which is
woman's emotions. And I'll tell you why I know that, because I was a when I had hair before, I wasn't always bald head cat, but I was one of those guys, uppity, and people listening, women in the chat. I was one of those dudes who was able to understand. I made it my point to understand women so well that I would learn how to communicate with them. And in order to get what I wanted, I just figured out how women worked. And I used that for a long time to my advantage. And it worked. It worked to perfection every time because I understand how women were emotionally. If I could play to the emotions of a woman, then as long as I was always in the green zone, the Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone of a woman's emotions, I could get whatever it was that I wanted, and there would never be anything bad that would happen, even if I did something that made her mad, because then it would just be a subtle manipulation again of her emotions to see, and Uppity smiling. It would be a manipulation of her emotions to get her not to be angry anymore.
I'm grimacing. I'm not smiling.
Oh, well, it's okay. You got the light, so it kind of looks like you're smiling. You might be your lipstick is popping. It looks good, but that's why. So
Uh,
that's what I feel that CK, as they call her, is doing to other women solely for the benefit of whatever unity her platform feels. I definitely know Cynthia G does it because Cynthia G does it in a predatory fashion.
Cynthia G is a predator.
Right.
Dylan Carey
And she exploits women's emotions to the utmost raw component.
is absolutely her and her comrades, not her sisters, but her and her comrades sit together and devise ways, study psychology and the occult and whatever they need to pick at the brains of African American women and keep them hurt enough to follow them and keep them outraged enough to follow them and super chat them and whatever else. That is not Crystalline Carrison. Crystalline Carrison, when just like Cynthia G, when Cynthia first came out and her message was different, that was sincerity on her part and it was beautiful. Cynthia G has become predatory with who she's chosen to associate with, and her message has evolved in accordance with that predatory nature. Crystalline Carrison is not a predator. She has remained the same, and she is sincere. So I don't know what you think she's manipulating or what you think she's doing wrong or using women's emotions by trying to give them self-esteem.
But they have it. They have that.
Black people
This is
self-esteem, and you can tell because only a woman with low self-esteem would call Kevin Samuels knowing how he's going to talk to her.